Welcome to Bloom State Radio. This is a pop-up episode and I'm loving the inspiration to pop on and pop in and hit record and do a pop-up episode, and I'm feeling inspired with this episode to share some insight and some of my personal experiences around discipline. Oh my gosh. Discipline, self-control is a game changer. Learning it does not, well, it certainly hasn't happened for me overnight. It's been a continuum of multiple different threads of my life that I have been very disciplined with, from food to sex, relationships, sugar, coffee, like not all at once. But some of it at once, actually. Some of it has definitely been a weaving simultaneously before. But generally, I really like the challenge of being good with something and being good without it, or like really being in honouring of a commitment that I've made to myself. And that has threaded so much strength in my sense of self, purpose, passion, pathway. I feel really connected in flow when I know I'm good with and I'm good without something. And like I said, it's not been an overnight process. If I haven't said that, I'm just going to say it again. It's not been an overnight process. It really hasn't. But when I trace back to the origins of my dabbling in discipline, it was around food first. And first it was a bit obsessive. So I think I was like in my early 20s, and I'd be weighing out all my foods, like exactly 30 grams of Special K, and the exact mill of milk, to the point where I looked in the mirror one day and I literally looked like a lollipop. I was like, what the fuck's happened? And I thought it was in the name of discipline, but actually it took a turn into something a bit darker than discipline. It became a bit of a compulsive thing, too much control, and I think I dropped down to about 7 stone at this point when I realised. I hopped on the scales and I was like, whoa. But thankfully, I'm strong enough to be able to see that something is unhealthy for me and know when to step out of that patterning, which is a blessing really at 20 years old to know intuitively what's good for me and what isn't. Like I couldn't put words to it then that I can now, but I do feel like I've always had that rhythm with my body, and intuition as well. So I think that was when I first hit the discipline pathway. And then I would say, just to keep it in the food realm, I committed to a complete plant-based diet for 8 years, and that one was fun. Oh my gosh, the path of veganism was so fun, so empowering, so strong in the testing of the discipline. I know that people thought I was a bit extreme, especially my family. I think they thought I was a bit extreme. My auntie actually said to me, she straight up was like, Leanne, I thought you had an eating disorder, I'm not going to lie. But I was just choosing not to consume anything from an animal. I wouldn't even wear wool. I didn't wear leather shoes, leopard prints, like anything that was of any exploitation of an animal. I just wasn't for it. And I know there are extreme scales and potentially a little bit in that realm. But if we look at it as a whole, I think it's pretty fucking powerful and strong that I committed to that, irrespective of the noise and the misunderstanding of what my choices were. Whereas now, like, veganism is the thing. There's so much out there about veganism, and it's now more of a I think it was at one point quite fad. Like, people would just all of a sudden become vegan, which is a great, but there is a shadow that started to emerge around a few years ago, I think, when all of the fake meats and everything all came out, and I didn't start on that. Like, vegan cheese was non-existent, vegan yogurt was non-existent, like, fake meats, they were like corn burgers, but there was nothing vegan sausages, nothing, like, quite literally. I was on Whole Foods and really, really good, strong, healthy mindset with the way that I wanted to move with it, because there was literally nothing else around. So then over the years, while I would be building my own meal in fucking pubs in the Isle of Man, I'm like, the chip app with a side portion of hummus. There were still some places that were like, what's vegan? And I was like, whoa, okay. But you go to the UK and it was a thing. It wasn't as big then, but there was just so much more option. And it was just so good to be in those communities where there was just so much more option. But on the island, I think the challenge was a bit stronger because, there was less options, whereas now it's great, they're everywhere. But I decided after dropping some weight in training that it was time to add egg back into the mixer. And I've tried a bit of fish as well. And to be honest, it wasn't a really difficult decision to make, but I was aware of what it is that I'd learn in terms of how our produce is received. And it was interesting for me to be able to be like, okay, I'm aware of this, and I've been so strong in its support for so long, and I'm still in support of that. I don't support the slaughtering and the abuse that happens within these farming environments. I don't agree with it. And I don't eat meat, and I'm not saying that I'm more righteous because I don't. Like, the rabbit holes I've been down, and the compassion and what I actually feel and what I've witnessed in the flesh, in terms of how these sentient beings are treated, I can never ever go back to that, So I know that my decision to start integrating some animal products has been because of it's a necessity now, and it's for my own health and wellness. And if I deprive my body of what it needs, then it's just not physically me that's going to be deprived from it. It's my daughter as well, and it's my lifestyle, and it's my everything. So when I cracked those eggs in the pan and started whisking them up like scrambled egg, here we come. I was so stoked. Oh, the smell, a bit of salt in there. Oh my God, it was so good. So I started small. So I was like adding quite a bit of milk until eventually now I just don't even really use anything sometimes, just bish bash in the pan, away we go. But that moment of scrambled egg entering my mouth for the first time, oh my God, it's like every cell just rejoiced. And I wasn't deprived of nutrition or anything like this at this point. I didn't even really supplement throughout my time on a plant-based diet, which always shocks nutritionalists because they know everything, and that all vegans should be supplementing because they're fucking deprived. And I'm like, what, am I an exclusion to this? Like, stop stereotyping. It started to get a strong, heavy rep. But I was in it for the long haul. Don't give a fuck about your opinions. I feel great. The best I ever felt in my entire life. I just feel lighter, not consuming that. And I'm stoked, and I'm proud of myself that I stuck to the commitment for as long as I did, and also allowed myself that flexibility to be open to the pathway shifting if it so needs to be. I now also wear leather. There was also one winter, I think it was the same, no, It was the same winter, yeah, it was. It was around about the same time that no, let me just try and trace this back. No, so when Lotus started to walk, I knew that leather shoes would be best for her feet and her posture, right? So she's barefoot for most of the time at this point, and it's like, well, winter's coming in now, she does need shoes. And but then it dawned on me that my feet, my own feet, were suffering from not wearing leather. And I'd be getting blisters on my feet every winter, and I'd be putting cream on it, and I actually didn't join the dots that it's because I'm wearing synthetic leather and my feet can't actually breathe here. So I also made the decision after having the realization of, well, if I'm going to put my daughter in leather shoes and my toes are all blistered, I think I should really shift and put my own feet in leather shoes again. And I did, and I've not had the blistering back since. But that's something similar to the egg scenario where, I'm fully aware of how said leather is acquired. But I've got to do what I have to do to support my health. And I know that statement might sound quite contradictory from what I've just said about the flesh of an animal. I absolutely get that. However, I do believe that it is different. Like, if I'm consuming the flesh of a sentient conscious being that's, has an emotional experience, and it's pumped with antibiotics and all sorts of shit, vaccines and all the things that, fuck knows what else they get injected with, but they're certainly not just a wild animal just roaming around, grazing organically. That would be different. And if it was in a scenario where survival was a thing, then it's an option, of course. But, we do have options, and I opt out of having that enter my own physical system and absorbing that which is in the flesh of that sentient being. Whereas if I'm wearing a fucking piece of skin over my foot, it's very different. So I just wanted to clarify that piece of potential contradiction in that, because everyone loves to point out the contradictions of a vegan. Even though I'm not a vegan, that was just such a wild battle. I say battle, it was more of a defense. There's a defending in that, and I don't think that the defense has to be like, macho ego. It's like, we do, don't we? We're not just gonna sit there and let other people run their opinions and bring us into a lower state because they don't understand. And we get people like that, and that's okay, but, and I'm here for it, and I'm here to bat the ball back if it so needs to. So it was a very interesting experience for me to move through that path of veganism, and I rate it, and I fucking recommend it. And I would also say that don't start a supplement. Do you know what? I'm actually going to do a side episode on veganism. So I'm going to put a pin in this one because I'm aware that I like to keep these episodes down to 30 minutes. So maybe I'll do a little side episode on veganism and give out some pointers and, I don't know, an alternative perspective on the non-anemic, fucking deficient in everything human who survived on a plant-based diet and fully thrived. So yeah, maybe I'll do a side one on that, honeys. But for now, I want to keep moving on the conveyor belt of my path of discipline. So it's been about food, and then it was the discipline around party drugs. So that came in around when I was around 27. I was just slowly like, nah, I just don't think this is for me anymore. But, I'd had a good few years having some heavy sessions over the weekends, most weekends, and maybe a few in the week as well, for good measure. And it wasn't until that point as well where I made the decision. I was like, nope, I am not touching cocaine ever again. And it's funny how it's sort of tied in similarly with the time period of me committing to, going vegan, like discipline with my diet. It's as if this discipline hook just creates like a ripple effect in all other areas of my life. So I would observe. it was around that time. So like maybe 8 years ago, I would say 8-9 years ago. And that was the first to go. And I remember being at a gaff with everyone. They were all getting on it. And I just actually decided that I wasn't going to drink either that night. So I think I had a little doobie. And I just got to see the environment for what it was. And I was like, there's no fucking way I am ever going back into that. Everyone is yapping and spitting down each other's ears. Like, no one, there's an element of connection that is happening when the gun banging is happening. I'm not going to lie, there definitely is something there. But actually, we can have these deeply heartfelt, beautiful, unraveling moments without the demonic, I'm going to say cocaine is demonic, the demonic energy of cocaine. And that is what it is. You spend all this money, you sniff it so quickly, you want more, it wears off, you want more, you're chatting shit, you're drinking more booze, like the behaviour starts to become scatty and reckless at some point. And it then just becomes like a deficit, right? And being in that space when I was looking around and seeing everyone, and I was like, whoa, whilst it's been fun, I'm 27. I didn't intentionally know this at the time, but this is definitely what I was experiencing as I was moving through that shift. It's like, no, it's time. It's 27, it's time. So I stopped cocaine, like sniffing cocaine, and then, pills and Mandy, and then, then it's gone. And I know that psychedelics are technically a class A, but I don't see psychedelics as a drug. I see it as a medicine. So I'm not going to include that in this mixer of quote unquote drugs, because I don't believe that has a place there. So then it was that. And then I noticed how my life was just starting to unravel in the most beautiful ways. I booked a one-way flight to go out to India, get my teacher training, travel around a little bit. And then I, committed to some of my beautiful dreams. Even before that, actually in the same period, I bought a van, converted it, lived in it. And it was that time on the island where we had 6 weeks of consistent sunshine. It was so great. I just really got my head leveled up big time. It really, really leveled me up. And that's when lots of these layers started to unravel for me. And I've also had my time being disciplined with cannabis as well. I started to take tolerance breaks. I remember taking my first tolerance break for an entire month, and I was like, what the heck? I had no idea what pull that it had on me. But again, I do believe cannabis is a medicine. But for me, I know that it's a medicine that I want to have the control over in terms of what my way of connecting with it, rather than it being like ridiculously habitual. Whilst I can still sometimes just pick it up and have no intention with it, there are other times that I pick it up and I'm like, oh, do you know what? This feels like what I would really like to connect with right now. And I know through taking these disciplined tolerance breaks away from it, it's helped me strengthen up my own connection with self and how I process life around me. Because as an independent mom, I love connecting with cannabis as a medicine in those most peak moments where sleep deprivation's a thing, my child's sick, there's been sick fucking all over the floor, all over the bed, all over, and in fact, I'm not even going to say that it's the only time that I connect with it in those extreme times. Like, I can just have a day where I feel tense and I want to be soft and open and calm for my daughter. And not that I'm intentionally always using cannabis for that. It helps with that. It helps me soften into my mothering that my child needs at the time. You know what I mean? And I know that it is a potent medicine, and I know there's a lot of shame that is carried around cannabis and its connection. And I get it. I do get it. I've been through periods of my life where I've connected with cannabis in a very unhealthy way. And that wasn't healthy, obviously. But, you know, when you see people who have codeine addictions, you can buy those over the counter. They can be good to be used in ways that are healthy, and the scales can tip. But I think it's important that we just be aware of what our scales are in the first place. And by having those intolerance breaks, I feel like it's a good indication for us just to feel where we're at with it. Like, what is our pull with it? And yeah, it feels good to be able to connect with it in a healthy way. Same with, like, if I want to connect with having a couple of drinks, it never ever goes downhill. I'm like maybe 3 maximum, and then I'm home, because I enjoy feeling well and strong and healthy, and that my body is vibrant, and this is my default state that I prefer. And I will put the measures in place that are required in order for me to thrive and feel so amazing this way, while simultaneously acknowledging that, girl, it's good to go for a blowout and have a little dance every now and again if you so want to. So it's knowing that I'm good without, and I can connect with these things without them overpowering me. And just being a bit more responsible as a mother and a woman. You know, I've got dreams, I've got projects, I've got a child, a house, a beautiful, beautiful life. And there's no way that I've just got here through waking up one morning and deciding this is going to happen. And these steps in the pathway of discipline have helped me get here, and for me to actually reap the fruits of my labour. Because, you know, when I'm telling you I'm taking tolerance breaks away from cannabis, that first month was so difficult. The emotional turbulence is wild. And the same thing happens when you take a tolerance break from coffee, from sugar to get, if you think that you're not addicted to sugar, try and take 1 week break away from all refined sugar. You're checking your ingredients, nothing with refined sugar. 1 week, dare ya, give it a go and see what that pull is like. Even if you don't eat it that much, there's a pull there. And it's fun to play with the sugar intolerance breaks, to be honest, because it can creep up so quickly. Same with using cannabis as well, I guess. It's why I quite like to take those tolerance breaks, just to check that nothing's slipping and sliding in the background. And that's just a measure that I take. You know, I don't know if that'll work for other people, but I'm just here speaking on experience. So the sugar and the coffee discipline, tolerance breaks, sex, dating, committing to celibacy. Oh my God, I absolutely recommend. It is so powerful. So the first time that I decided to commit to celibacy, I was actually still dating at the time, and I was dating someone who I was sexually attracted to, but I'd made this commitment. Girl, no, not for this period of time. And if I make a commitment to myself, I stick to it. And there are elements of discipline, commitment spaces that I've swayed in before. I'm not saying I absolutely hit the nail on the head every single time when I first started these, but now I do, because I know that it's important for me to connect with these and take those breaks, because I know how beneficial that they are for the absolute boost that I get. It's so crazy. But, you know, when I first started trying out tolerance breaks, it would dip and it would wave. And there's nothing wrong with the pendulum swinging back. No shame in that. But if you're listening to this now and you haven't done anything like this before, what I would say is that you stick to it. Just stick to it. You'll get there quicker. The sooner that you ride through and break that habit, and those neurons start to fire and wire in a way that's healthy instead of dependent, it's kind of fast tracking, really, bit of a fast track advice from someone who's been there and tried and tested in many different ways. Just stick to it, and you feel amazing after it. The dopamine hit is wild as well, and that's an extra surge of love and oxytocin for the body, mind, spirit, everything. Again, just like learning so much about yourself and what your pulls are, and when you connect to certain things and when you're craving certain things, being aware of like, am I craving this because I want to just help something be eased, or like, what's going on with me? Who am I? You know, there's this big question, who am I? But unless we actually strip things away and create space between, how do we know if we don't stop doing the things that we've always done? But there's also nothing wrong with those things coming back in, but as long as they're coming back in a healthy stream, right? Certainly that's what works for me. I'm not an all or nothing girly. I don't have to be, and I don't think other people should be. I don't know. It's all dependent, isn't it, on what their mindset is, I guess. But for me, I'm not an all or nothing girly. If I genuinely do not want it, I won't have it. Like what I was saying before about cocaine, I will never, ever, ever, ever. I know as long as my heart is beating and I have air in my lungs, like I'm never touching that shit ever again. But, you know, I've taken tolerance breaks from caffeine and sugar and cannabis and sex and men and, you know, other things that are of a pleasure. And, you know, it's not an all or nothing. I'm never not having that. I can come back and I connect with it. And it is stronger, more potent, it's more stable and secure and beautiful every time, and there's nothing wrong with us wanting to taste the delicacies of life, which is through that sensory pleasure, you know, from food and sex and men and whatever your pleasure thing is. It doesn't have to be all consuming and the thing that we center in our lives, do you know? Even the coffee thing, you know, where people are like, oh man, I can't start the day without a double frappuccino, yo. And you're like, why? Like, are you okay? Why can't you just start your day with a herbal tea one morning? Like, why does it have to be the exact same thing every time? Unless, you know, you get great comfort from that. I don't know. But we are all different, we're all unique, and that would just bore me, to be fair. I kind of like dip and wave and sort of dance with the flow as and when it wants to come for me. So where are we at now? 27 minutes. What else have I got time for? Oh, okay. So discipline in terms of like sporty gal through and through, and committing to new ways of moving the body is power. Whether it be you commit to 1 year of running minimum once a week, or you commit to, 1 year of yoga minimum once a week, bits and pieces, or on a collaborative perspective, it's powerful, and you will start to notice how good you feel when you connect with something that makes you feel good, opposed to connecting to scatty shit that doesn't make you feel good, and you know it doesn't. And that's what makes the discipline easier, when you have that contrast of, oh my God, I feel fucking amazing right now, and I've not touched a drop of alcohol for months. I'm still socialising, feeling really good, you know, my training's going well, all the things. That's when the discipline starts to become easier. But integrating some sort of like commitment with body movement while you start your tolerance breaks and discipline to pulling certain things out of your lifestyle is a game changer, and will definitely help emotional turbulence and help the body become more grounded and the mind become more grounded, because we get withdrawals. We do get withdrawals if we're used to something for so long, whether it's sugar, coffee, fucking whatever. I'm sure you get the gist of what I'm saying, in the sense of these beautiful delicacies of pleasure. And yeah, commit, do it. I rate it. It's really helped me get to where I am now, which is in the best place I've ever felt in my entire life. And it's a good place to be. It's fucking beautiful. It's wonderful. And I'm so grateful for all of the hard work that I've put in. That's one other thing I'm going to mention in terms of discipline as well. And you know what? This is worth going over the 30-minute mark. If you're a mother, or if you're planning on being a mother, the discipline to do the work, do the studying, really understand what's happening with your body, with your baby, the spirit of the baby, how it comes through. Find yourself a strong support system that will help you cultivate that strong, disciplined mind, so that you can go into birth and you can birth that beautiful little human in the most beautiful, fluid way. Be committed and disciplined into breastfeeding, into bed sharing, into responding to your baby's every single call, and not falling into that societal abuse of letting your child cry it out. That takes discipline. Be disciplined enough to refuse the vaccines when the letters continuously come through. You do not have to accept any of that, and a gentle no is sufficient. And if you're not being listened to, again, it's just such an opportunity to strengthen up that voice and become more disciplined in how you hold yourself, and harassing correspondence, which is basically what that is when you're getting letter after letter, already booking you in for your child's vaccine when you've quite clearly said that this is not happening, so stop contacting. It takes discipline, all right, to push up against something that is so normalised. And as a mother or a mother-to-be, you always have the opportunity to strengthen the muscle of discipline, because you are going to need it, trust me, if you want to guide a wildling in their pathway of becoming. And that was a very philosophical note to end on, but a beautiful one at that. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that.